你现在正在收听的是 Lu 的英文情境自修室，我是主持人 Lu。嗨，大家，好久不见 ！It has been a while。真的超惭愧的，竟然隔了快1个月才更新，真的很抱歉。你有没有差点以为这个节目要停更了？当然，我觉得我有义务跟大家交代一下，我消失的这1个月，在音频上消失的这1个月到底在干嘛？那其实就是2件事，一就是我在全心照顾我的外商求职教练课学员，那第二个就是在筹备 CEO 商用英文口说培训营。那说到这个教练课的部分，因为我的外商求职教练课是一个1对1高度客制化，有教练带着你陪跑整个求职的课程。那我们会在90天内呢，完善你的英文履历啊，定位求职方向和准备各式英文面试题，和优化 LinkedIn 的整个内容。那你会近距离的和我合作，并得到及时的反馈。这个教练课呢，适合想进外商却不知道从何开始准备，或者是一直找不到突破点的同学来参加。那如果你想加入的话，务必先加入排队名单。教练课的报名呢，要先来求职咨询才能报名。那下一期的求职咨询预计会在5月开放，那只有少量名额，那记得先加入排队名单，才能第一手获得消息和排队优惠哟。那另外呢，在忙的专案呢，就是这个商用英文口说培训营啦。我在4月的时候呢，其实蛮密集的跟将近30位同学面对面连线，聊聊他们在英文口说上面遇到的困扰。那 maybe 现在正在收听的你就有跟我连线过的机会，对不对？其实我知道口说呢，一直是台湾同学的罩门，因为学校的教育把我们练成了考试机器嘛。但是讲到需要活用的口说情境时，我们就突然很结巴，无法发挥100%的自己，这样真的很可惜，对不对？那虽然我拥有7年的英语教学资历，但我真的非常想打造一个能有效帮助同学们突破口说困境的培训营，一个社群。目前聊下来呢，我也收获非常多，也对这个即将推出的培训营非常有信心。这个培训营呢，适合想在职场中用英文精准表达自己想法的人。我会带你搭上加薪和外派的特快车。今天我就先抢先在 Podcast 透露消息，第一次的学员只有20个名额，才3到4人的超小组织。有兴趣的你，记得锁定 IG 限动 follow 最新消息哦。好，那分享完我最近到底在忙什么之后呢，今天的主题非常特别，是一个全英文的访谈。我为大家邀请到呢，在英商 Michael Page 拥有5年经验的资深猎头 CX， 他分别在马来西亚和日本都有丰富的招募经验。听完这集之后呢，你将会学习到如何和猎头合作，如何在 coffee chat 中表现自己，和如何成功跨领域转职的核心要素。那因为这集是全英文，我有在想说要不要将访谈内容整理成中文，让大家比较好阅读很好吸收。那大家有需要吗？如果有需要的话，也可以到 Apple Podcast 留言敲碗，或者是你可以在 Spotify 收听的话，在本集单集中留言想要中文摘要，因为其实整理成中文也蛮花时间的，所以我想知道这对大家有没有帮助，所以来留言先让我知道吧。好，那话不多说，我们就进入今天的全英文访谈吧。Let's get started. We're so happy to have you here, Chu Xing. Today, I'm so honored to invite her to come to our podcast. And this is the very first time we feature this in English, Okay, so before we dive into the topic we're going to talk about today, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and then how long have you been doing recruiting?
Okay, thanks, Lou. I'm from Malaysia. So my professional background is I studied accounting and I started my career in the Big Four as a finance accounting consultant. And then I didn't really enjoy in terms of the consulting accounting work. So I joined just an opportunity that I joined a recruitment company. So as a recruitment consultant, basically. So I started off my first 3 years of recruitment in Malaysia. And I moved to the Tokyo office almost 2 years ago. So currently, my role is focusing more towards the IT recruitment in Japan market.
Okay, wow, that's so cool. So you started off as you working for Big Four, right? Which one is it?
Yes, I work for PwC. I was as a fresh grad.
And then you just like got into this current company of yours, and then it's a British company, right?
Yes, it's a British listed company. So globally, we are one of the largest recruitment company in the world, and we specialize in recruiting mid to senior level position. And we have across various different functions and disciplines, basically.
So then you were mentioning that your recruiting specialty is more on IT, the IT side.
Yes. In Malaysia, I was focusing on finance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it was more related to your background, but then you switched to more like an IT side. What changed, or yeah, what was the reason?
I think one of the reason is I think everyone knows that IT or technology is like booming, and that is one of the industry or
Mm.
the functions that my company has been investing heavily the past 2 years. So when I joined the Japan office, they greatly needs people to expand the team here in Japan. That's why they offered me this position, and I find IT very interesting as well. Obviously, it's a growing industry and is one of the most demanding talents right now globally. Mhm.
Sounds very fascinating. So I'm sure we're going to dive into this part deeper later. But then I wanted to let the audience know. So how do we know about each other?
How did we know about each other? It was just really a coincidence, right? I think we met online.
Yeah, but it's not a normal online, kind of meetup. It's like on Bumble through this dating app. But of course, like we're not, like looking for like partners. Well, like me personally, not. But then like we were on Bumble Friend. So that's why we matched. And then we was just like came out for a dinner and then realized, oh my God, this is so cool. We're doing pretty similar things. I'm more on the entrepreneurial side and then you're like in the corporate world, So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do a collaboration. Sounds really, really cool.
Yes, I did expect to have met someone like you who does like training and coaching in this area as well. So it's quite interesting of what you are doing currently. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's so cool. Okay, so right now, let's dive into the next questions. And then can I ask you, how many employer clients do you work with at the moment?
I work with more than 10, 20 companies. So that is very depending on assignments that we get. Of course, pretty much our company is very industry focused too. So I'm mainly focusing on the manufacturing and pharmaceutical
Mm,
company. So some companies, they are huge, right? There are a lot of reoccurring businesses from these companies that we constantly collaborate together to find talents for them. Some company, they have relatively smaller team in Japan. So probably, you know, 1 year we only have one or two assignment with them. So it's very depending on company needs. But one of our goal is to expand our network to work with like adding more clients into our list, and so that we can give more options to our talents as well. Yeah.
okay, but right now you're focusing more on the manufacturing and then pharmaceutical parts. You were saying that you were given like 1 to 2 assignments.
Like some companies, they will give you, yeah, maybe they only have the hiring needs of one or two people in their team in a year, because their turnover is not high, right? Or they are not expanding. If there's no one resign, there will be a replacement, for example, or they are not adding headcount. So potentially, I'm just referring mainly for IT team. So potentially maybe 1 year they only hire one person or two. But some companies, they're expanding like crazy. Maybe every quarter they have some new headcounts, for example. Or some company just going through some changes, turnover is very high. They would keep doing like replacement. So it's very depending on what the organization needs at different point of time. Yeah.
But then for you guys, do you have like something like a peak season or low season, something like that?
Yeah, that's for sure. So usually beginning of the year is quite a quiet period, or the end of the year. So the reason is because like people going on holidays, and company may use up their budgets to hire people, so they may not be hiring. So beginning of the year is also most of the time people are still on holiday mood.
Okay.
That's one. Secondly is, they may just refresh their headcount budget, and they are doing the planning as a whole. So usually end of the year, beginning of the year is slightly quiet, and it depending on certain company fiscal year too. Quarter 3 can be pretty quiet, but it's depending on the market.
Okay, so sounds like summertime is like probably the peak season, right? The busiest.
Yeah, Quarter 2, spring, summer, yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. So we're going to dive into a part that's more exciting for a lot of our listeners because they are looking for jobs. So they really want to know, from a headhunter's perspective, how do you get that job? How do you land that job? So let's talk about coffee chat. I'm sure that you do coffee chat all the time, but then can you tell the listener that what a coffee chat is and then what do you usually do during a coffee chat?
So the coffee chat basically is like the interview that we have with our candidates, right? So whenever we found a new candidate or we scout a new candidate, we will have initial chat or interview with them. So that is just to really understand this person's experience, what kind of skill set and their personality is. And most importantly is to understand what they are looking for as well. So our role is not just to make, like introduce opportunity to our talents, but we also give some advice to them as well, giving them some insight how is the market currently and how they could do better in an interview or how they could develop their career based on their goal in the future.
Okay. Wow. Sounds like it would be an awesome opportunity to have a coffee chat with you personally, because I've been told that some people, like some candidates, job seekers, some of them, they're quite afraid of being approached by headhunters because they couldn't know if this headhunter is kind of, try to bullshit them or try to give them false information, So have you ever had that experience that the job seeker is quite protective or quite, I don't need your help, something like that, or not really?
Of course, absolutely. I understand, right? Especially the very competitive market. Some candidates, or talents, they get approached by multiple recruiters at the same time, and it can be very scary. And you don't have so much time to talk to each and every one of them. So that's why we get rejections a lot.
Yeah.
They are also recruiters market that they just simply give some advice and or they have mislead some candidates too, which is not necessary everyone in the market, but some of them, they kind of really need to like pick and choose who do you want to work with. And somehow it's about like the chemistry you have the recruiters as well, and you want to go with someone that
Okay.
you want to trust because you are fighting your next career, and obviously you care about your career, right? If you don't trust the recruiter, is a very hard partnership to move forward. In terms of landing your dream job, it's also about experience, like having different conversation with different recruiters will slowly give you more information about market, but be it is the right information or wrong information, but the more people you speak to, the more things that will make sense, and it will help you to make the more informed decision, and also
Yeah, exactly.
they will help you to understand the market better, and where you are in the market as well.
All right. So let's come back to the coffee chat. So then you mentioned that from your point of view, that coffee chat is actually an interview. But then I feel like a lot of candidates, they probably don't know that coffee chat is kind of like a informal interview. So then can you tell us like how do you usually like assess a candidate during a coffee chat? So what kind of qualities or what kind of experiences or what would you suggest them to like sell or show themselves during a coffee chat? Then, definitely will help you to figure out, whether this is a good position for you or not.
I think is usually we go into a chat or interview a very open mind because we don't really know the candidate that much. So we want to know a full like experience, hopefully, about Of course, we can't really know one person in that short 1 hour meeting entirely. So basically just highlight what are your key strengths, the key experiences you have in your career, and also what are the key achievements and the projects that you have done. So those are the more important things that will help to guide us to introduce you something that will fit to your strength and based on your past experiences as well.
So I feel like the candidates, they also do need a lot of self-awareness to really know that, hey, so what are the most impressive or the most memorable experiences I had in my career? And then be able to showcase that during the coffee chat is also very, very important. Sounds easy, but then actually if you do it, oh my goodness, yeah, I feel like it's going to trap a lot of people. They just don't know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of candidates, like especially those that just started their career, they may not know exactly that what are their strengths or what are their values they can add to the new organization. That is also, our role as well. Like when it comes to understanding your experience, then through the chat, we could help you to identify that. And the chat itself is just not for us to assess the candidate, but we also have to support you. So we have seen, for myself, like, I've seen some candidates that really don't know, what they want or what they are good at. So at the end of the conversations, we will also give some tips. Like, for example, you're really going to a formal interview, how you should present yourself, what are the things that you should highlight about yourself, and what kind of examples that you should give to impress the future employers, for example. It's an interview, but it's not really entirely an interview. We are like first layer of screening to support you to do better in the real interview. For example.
For sure. Sounded like you did. You offer advice for them or feedback for them. But would you really kind of prep them for the resume? Would you really like go through the resume for them or like even go through the interview process for them and give them tips?
Yes, we would. It's part of our professional service that we will provide to our candidates. So during the initial chat, of course, the best thing that candidate can do is to share with us a resume upfront that we could, go through it and also share some tips that how they can brush it up to their resume according to the positions they're applying as well. That's first thing. And secondly is how they can do better in the interview. But sometimes it's really depending on situation. I have to be honest with you because not all the candidates are receptive of the feedback. If candidate is not, if candidate is not, then we would not chip in more because it's very depending on individual. We try our best to support, but it's very depending on the individuals too. Yeah.
Okay, but wouldn't you say that being able to receive feedback is like a very important quality of a candidate as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of experienced candidates as well that they have been through a lot of job interviews throughout their entire career. So there are times that we will give some very indirect feedback to them and see how things go, and also get them through things. Basically, this kind of candidate may not so much of guidance from us, but instead like we more on like sharing like how the market works in general, or in terms of the how's the senior market, like what are the kind of job opportunities that these people should target or should apply for potentially. So very depending on seniority, we will give different type of advices and feedback.
Fascinating. So yeah, I'm sure there are so much more juicy parts that I can dive into about like resume, and a lot of our listeners, they would be dying to know, and that also about interview process. But then today we're gonna do this as more like a introduction kind of episode. So we're just gonna tell you about it, and if people you're interested,
Sure.
definitely let me know, and then we're gonna invite Huxing to come to the show again. Okay, yeah. But then okay. So then after we know what kind of support would you give them during a coffee chat, then can you tell us, like, according to your past experience, like this 5 year experience as a headhunter, recruiter, and then what are the key success factors behind your candidate who made a smooth career transition?
I think the key success factors is very depending as well. Is depending on what kind of transition you want, right? First is if you are making a career up, like for example, you're an IT person, you're seeing the same industry and you're moving within an industry. So that is the easiest, right? You're not changing too much. You're using your knowledge, your expertise to make a transition. But another one is like a really tough one. You're totally moving outside your comfort zone. For example, like you are so-called a finance person but you're doing like you're learning coding yourself and you want to go to IT, and that is extremely
Oh yeah, this is quite common
and
nowadays.
that's not that easy, right? You're shifting your career entirely. So, but regardless, is really about how you present yourself, how you showcase your experience, some of the key achievement, even though you are not the expertise in that particular positions that you apply for, but if you could share some achievement that's relevant to it and show interest in that particular role and passion as well, that could increase your chances of getting the job. So we always talk about like the interview assessment is always break down into three parts, I would say. One is the candidate technical skill, it's a hard skill, what exactly fits into the JD itself, right? Secondly is the soft skill. So your personality, your communication skill. And third is the most vague one or ambiguous one, which is culture fit.
Oh, this is important.
Right.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah. So it's culture fit. How well that you fit into this company, the team that you are going to join, and even like whether the company can give you the platform to grow or not as part of it. So usually interview will have these three assessment. But of course, according to different seniority or the positions they're applying, the weightage of these three assessment could be very different too.
So could you give us like a real example of maybe like a current or past candidate that you really did help and then lend him or lend her a job that's like make a huge transition, just like what you mentioned, like maybe she was a finance person, then she got into this maybe like data analysis field. Do you have any specific example of that you can share with us?
Yeah. So let's just talk about this candidate. Of course, this is quite a senior person. The positions that I managed to place him in is a general manager for IT security position. Okay. So when I first interviewed him, basically his experience is pretty much like an IT generalist. Let's say it's like he managed just a general like IT infrastructure and application as a whole, but he is not like a real expert of security, IT security or cybersecurity engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So he has touched a little bit of security before, but it's not like more than 50% of his
Okay.
previous job scope. So the new position he's going to land in is obviously he need to do 100% on cybersecurity and IT security. So it's quite a big gap, right? The gap is almost like more than 50% of what he is doing right now. But because it's a senior position, when it comes to senior position, there's so much to it is how this person communicate to. So this candidate have very strong communication skill, fluent English, very good people skill, very humble personality. What he can brings on the table is also because this general manager you'll need to manage a regional portfolio.
Okay.
And he has the regional experience in not just in Japan, but also in Southeast Asia country and China as well. So these abilities like enable him knowing the different culture across the borders to manage the senior stakeholders that he's going to work with in the future. So particularly, during the first round interview, when he was interviewing with the chief information security officer, that obviously is going to be a very tough, some technical questions that going to be asked. So what I can prep the candidate is like, look, so this is the current situation of their IT security right now. And they need someone who is strong in particularly, for example, IT infra security, and they're using a very old school system. They need someone to enhance the firewall, just example. So help him to do some research, get him to do some research on this area, or kind of best solutions or what are the best practices out there in terms of security in this area that this company need to enhance, for example. So once he has that knowledge, he Google it himself, he study about it, even though he may not be doing have been there, done that before, but with that particular kind of knowledge, he can give a great answer to the chief information security officers during the first interview. So obviously he passed that, and then when he interviewed with other, non-technical interviews, like for example, when we met with the CFO or CEO of the company, then looking into more like his soft side, right? The soft skill, where I talk about how he worked on regional portfolio, cross borders, communications, those kind of things, the real values that been there, done that kind of thing, that would impress the people. And finally, is the culture fit. And because he has such great personality, good communication skill, very humble personality, working for a Japanese company is definitely not an issue. So yeah, it kind of was a very many perspectives of it as comes down to play. And that's also sometimes when we talk to our client as well, as a recruiter, we always ask for the priority. Are you looking for someone very technical, or you're looking for someone with more soft skill? Which one is more important? Yeah. So based on that, we prepare our candidate or we match the talent for our client. Yeah.
Wow, that was a very amazing example. Yeah, thank you so much for that. This is a great opportunity for you to learn, because you really went through that from the first interview and to the second to the final. And then during every interview, according to the person we talk to, right, the interviewer, then we prep the candidate on different aspect of stuff. And so even though he probably doesn't have all the experiences that it requires for that position, but of course we think maybe a step ahead or even multiple steps ahead, and then to prep him for that. And then when you talk to more like a CMO or CFO, then you show more on a soft skill part, like communication, people skill. Yeah, I think that's a very crucial takeaway for every one of us. So the final question for you, I'm wondering, would you usually ask a candidate about their current salary? I'm asking this because I know at least in the US, some states, they have made it illegal to ask about current or past salary.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I do ask in terms of current salary. The reason is, so there are multiple reasons. The first is we don't want to introduce any positions that's lower your current salary right now, right? So we don't want to recommend something that doesn't meet your expectation or even lower than what you're right now. So that's just waste of anyone's time. Unless the candidate is willing to take a pay cut, that's a different story.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that happens as well. Like some people want a work-life balance. They don't want to do so much of OT. They're willing to take a pay cut. Okay. Of course, we always respect that. Everyone has different priorities. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is, fortunately, most of the markets, especially in Asia, of course, based on my experience, I have Malaysia and Japan experience. Both countries are the same. When going to job offer stage, most of the time they will ask for pay slips and everything before give you an official job offer. And like it or not, and I know this is something quite unfair to certain people, is a lot of the time when we get the salary jump from one company to another company, your new company always based on what you've drawn previously and give a certain percentages of increment from there. Of course, the degree of increment is pretty much based on how good you are, how fit you are in that position that you are applying for. So that ranges different percentages. So we also want to give a bit of transparency to our clients too. Most of the time they will ask before they're proceeding for interview, what's their candidate's current salary and what's their expected salary. Yeah, that's because company also don't want to waste their time to interview someone that they know they can't afford or is too different from what they are expecting to.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's quite common to ask about expected salary. Yeah. But then I'm just not sure about would you ask also about the current salary? And then have you ever encountered any candidate they just refuse to tell you, or they probably lie to you? Has that ever happened before?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, multiple times. That always happened. I mean, the first initial chat, we always based on trust. Okay, we always based on trust. If you don't want to share, that is fine, right? But till end of the process, we always tell them anyhow, If you don't want to tell now, but our client will ask too. So if that questions arises, please try to answer if that is possible. And most of the time, they need to prepare payslip too. And one of the things is very important when it comes to job search is, the honesty and integrity is so important. Because they're going to hire someone new in the organization, and you're going to handle some company data. Some of it can be confidential, and they want to entrust someone that will be able to, use the company information with integrity. So
for sure.
If the initial chat doesn't feel this person is very transparent, some companies will raise some concerns, especially big organizations like I talk about the Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. They are strictly regulated. They have very strict HR policies and processes. Those are things that you can't escape at all. And some even have some background checks on you. So
it's like sooner or later, right? You're gonna get busted.
Yes. So unfortunately, like if you lie in the first stage, when people find out, there are a lot of companies that pull back the offer eventually.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you know that there's a saying that honesty is the best policy or something. Yeah, you're gonna be honest about it. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to be also smart about it. So don't be those one of those kind of like too honest candidate, but also be smart about it to know like how to negotiate with every stakeholder during your job hunting journey. All right, perfect. Thank you so much for coming to the show today. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure that our audience has gained so much from this. I think you just, in this past 30 minutes, gave us so much more information, that valuable information that probably no one has ever, talked about before. Thank you so much again to come to our show.
No problem. Thank you so much, Lu. My pleasure.
好，那希望今天的全英文访谈有让正在收听的你不仅获得一些启发，还学习到求职的新知。如果你想要用阅读看中文摘要，记得到 Apple Podcast 或是 Spotify 留言让我知道。那Lu的英文情境自修室，欢迎你在各大收听平台按下订阅按钮，也欢迎你追踪我们的 IG Lu.English.Studyroom， 那连结都在资讯栏中哦。I'll see you next week. Bye bye.